Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good tomorrow, or whatever time it is right now, wherever you are. Thanks for joining us. This is John Pershing Smith, or JP, and I'll be your host on this podcast. I just found an incredible story from several years ago that I had done and kind of locked it away in my recesses of my computer in my mind. But it is a story I call From a Barroom to the Pinnacle of Success. And I want to offer a big thanks to Wikipedia and some other online sources for this information I've gathered to put this together. She was born Eileen Regina Edwards in Windsor, Ontario, August 28, 1965, the daughter of Sharon and Clarence Edwards. She has two sisters, Jill and Carrie Ann. Her parents divorced when she was 2, and her mother then moved to Timmins, Ontario, with her daughters. Sharon then married an Ojibwa from the nearby Mattagami First Nation tribe, and they had a son together. Mark and Jerry adopted the girls when Mark was still a toddler, and Jerry and Sharon adopted Jerry's baby nephew, Daryl, after Daryl's mother died. Because of her connection to Jerry, it's been reported that Eileen is of the same descent, but she stated in an interview that her biological father was part Cree. Her Irish maternal grandmother, Eileen Pierce, immigrated from Newbridge, County Kildare. Eileen had a difficult childhood. Her parents earned little money, and food was often scarce in their household. She didn't confide her situation to school authorities because she feared they might break up the family. In the remote, rugged community of Timmins, she learned to hunt and chop wood. Her mother and stepfather's marriage was at times stormy, and from a young age, Eileen witnessed violence between them. Her mother also struggled with bouts of depression. In the mid-1979, when Jerry was at work, at Eileen's insistence, her mother drove the rest of the family 420 miles south to a Toronto homeless shelter for assistance. Sharon then returned to Jerry with the children in 1981. In Timmins, Eileen's mother started her singing in bars at the age of 8 years old, because they wanted to help her try and pay the family's bills. And she often earned as much as $20 between midnight and 1 a.m. performing for remaining customers after the bar had finished serving for the evening. Although she expressed a dislike for singing in those bars, she believes that this was her own kind of performing arts school on the road. She said of the ordeal, "My deepest passion was music, and it helped. There were moments when I thought, I hate this. I hated going into bars and being around drunks, but I loved the music." She wrote her first songs at the age of 10. She states that the art of actually writing songs was very different from performing them and became progressively important. At the age of 13, she was invited to perform on the CBC's Tommy Hunter show. While attending Timmins Health and Vocational School, she was also the singer for a local band called Longshot, which covered top 40 music. In the early 1980s, she spent some time working with her father's reforestation business in northern Ontario, a business that employed some 75 Ojibwe and Cree workers. Although the work was demanding and the pay low, she said, "I love the feeling of being stranded. I'm not afraid of being in my own environment, being physical, working hard. I was very strong. I walked miles and miles every day and carried heavy loads of trees. You can't shampoo, you can't use soap or deodorant or makeup, nothing with any scent. You have to bathe and rinse your clothes in the lake. It was a really rugged experience, but I was very creative, and I'd sit alone in the forest with my dog and a guitar, and I just learned to write songs." After graduating from Timmins High in June 1983, she was eager to expand her musical horizons, and after the demise of the band Longshot, Eileen was approached by a cover band led by Diane Chase called Flirt, and they toured all over Ontario. She also began taking singing lessons from a Toronto-based coach, Ian Garrett, and would often clean his house in payment for her lessons. In the autumn of 1984, her talents were noticed by Toronto DJ Stan Campbell, who wrote about her in a country music news article. Eileen possesses a powerful voice with an impressive range. She has the necessary drive, ambition, and positive attitude to achieve her goals. Campbell happened to be making an album by Canadian musician and present-day CKTB radio personality Tim Dennis at that time, and she was featured on the backing vocals of the song Heavy on the Sunshine. Campbell later took her to Nashville to record some demos, and she found particularly difficult to finance. She became acquainted with the regional country singer Mary Bailey, who had had some country chart success in 1976. Bailey had seen Eileen perform in Sudbury, Ontario, saying, "I saw this little girl up on a stage with a guitar, and it absolutely blew me away. She performed Willie Nelson's Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain and Hank Williams' I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry. Her voice reminded me of Tanya Tucker. It has strength and character, a lot of feeling. She's a star. She deserves an opportunity." Bailey later said she sang a few songs that she'd written, and I thought to myself, this kid is like 17 years old. Where did she come up with this? This is from a person who's already lived 60 years. Bailey acquired a contract from Stan Campbell, and Eileen moved into Bailey's home on Kenogami Lake, where she practiced her music every day for hours. In the fall of 1985, Bailey took her to Nashville to stay with a friend. Record producer Tony Milgary, at the time, was producing an album for a fellow Canadian singer, Kalita Haverland, and Eileen was featured on the backing vocals to the song Too Hot to Handle. She had also demoed some songs with Cyril Rawson, but the demos were without success, partly due to her wish to become a rock singer, not a country artist. After 5 months, she returned to Canada and moved in with Bailey in a flat at downtown Kirkland Lake, not far from Kenogami. There she met rock keyboardist Eric Lambier and drummer Randy Urco, and formed a new band, moving 3 months later to Bowmanville near Toronto. In the late summer 1986, Mary Bailey arranged for Eileen to meet John Campbell, a half Mohawk, half American conductor who had close contacts with the directors of the Canadian Country Music Association. Bell recognized Eileen's ability as well as her looks, and the two began secretly dating. In the fall of '86, she continued to express her desire to be a pop or rock singer rather than country, which led to a falling out with Mary Bailey for 2 years. Her first break finally came on February 8, 1987, when Bell staged a fundraiser for the National Aboriginal Achievement Foundation at the Roy Thompson Hall in Toronto, where she performed with Broadway star Bernadette Peters, with jazz guitarist Don Ross and the Toronto Orchestra. Her performance received little acclaim, but it convinced Bell, who hated pop music, that she should stay well away from it and concentrate on country music. On November 1st, 1987, Eileen's mother and stepfather died in a car accident approximately 50 kilometers north of Wawa, Ontario. As a result, she moved back to Timmins to take care of her younger siblings and then took them all to Huntsville, Ontario. There she supported them by earning money performing at the nearby Deerhurst Resort. A couple of years passed and her siblings got older and moved out on their own. Eileen assembled a demo tape of her song, and her Huntsville manager set up a showcase for her to present her material to record executives. She caught the attention of a few labels, including Mercury Nashville Records, who signed her within a few months. During this time, she changed her name. Eileen's self-titled debut album was released in 1993 in North America and garnered her audiences outside Canada. Shortly before its release, she sang backing vocals for other Mercury artists, including Sammy Kershaw's 1993 album, Haunted Heart. Her first record only reached number 67 on the U.S. Country Albums chart, but it gained positive reviews from critics. The album failed to sell significant copies initially. However, her future success generated enough interest in that album for it to be certified platinum 6 years later, denoting sales of over 1 million. The album yielded 2 minor single hits in the U.S., but was more successful in Europe, where she won Country Music Television Europe's Rising Video Star of the Year award. In her 2011 autobiography, From This Moment On, Eileen expressed displeasure with her debut studio album, revealing that she had very little creative control and expressed frustration with not being able to showcase her songwriting ability. She had changed her name some time back and has now sold over 100 million records, making her the best-selling female artist in the country music history and among the best-selling music artists of all time. Her success garnered her several honorific titles, including the Queen of Country Pop. Shania Twain, her new name, was a real rags to riches story and living proof that no matter who you are, no matter where you were born, no matter what your background is, if you have the determination and the drive, you can better yourself in the world. Remember, Eileen Now, Shania had a difficult childhood. You can learn from her story. Nobody handed her anything. She had to grub for it. You know, I find so many of these stories, and I can tell you that I came from that kind of background down in South Georgia in the early 40s and 50s, and I believe that most people have a genuine desire to break out, to do better for themselves, but often don't find the right opportunity. Or if they did, maybe they were afraid to go through that door. You just think about that little girl, 8 years old, Eileen, now Shania Twain, whose mama started her singing in bars, where she often earned $20 between midnight and 1 a.m. to try to help pay the family's bills, no matter where you've gone through or where you came from. Ladies and gentlemen, here's one last thing before I close today. Hey, just ask around. Everybody wants to be a diamond. Everybody wants to be at the top. Everybody wants to be a winner. But most people just go through wanting it without ever having to go through the tremendous pressure and all the waiting. As per Mr. Paul Harvey, now you know the rest of the story. God bless and make it an awesome day. Thanks for tuning in today, folks. And I'll see you in the winner's circle. Goodbye for now.